Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video, I would like to do another review of somebody else's Twine project, specifically The Skull by Nolan Thornton. They have uploaded this to their website. I will link to it in the description of the video. And it says that it is based on the short stories The Skull by Philip K. Dick and The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. Both of those are very famous short stories. I know what they're about, but I'm not completely sure if he would consider me talking about the plots of those to be spoilers. I mean, in a sense, they're not, because, of course, these are both stories that are now in the public domain, and so I'm sure you can find them on the internet somewhere. But you know, just in case, I won't discuss them. Although I knew what they were, and I think maybe the expectation is probably that most of the people who play this are going to know what happens in the story. But anyway, so it's quite a plain sort of presentation. They haven't changed the layout or anything really. It's basically, I mean, there's still these links that are sort of the links from their website, but basically it's the sort of default layout. There is music. I'm not sure if it's going to. Oh, there we go. There we go. There is music which is, I think, quite appropriate. It's very sort of, I would say, very basic synthesizer sounding music. It doesn't seem to be trying to sound like real instruments, and I think that fits the sort of science fiction-y, the science fiction sort of theme. I would have liked to have had the option to turn it off, because it got a bit. It's quite a short. I mean, there's actually more than one piece of music, but particular piece of music kind of loops round after a little bit, and it can get a bit sort of got a bit much. I mean, of course, you can turn the volume down, so it's not a huge thing, but I think it would add to the. It would add to the experience if you were able to click it off. It's written in a basically sort of screenplay style, not quite. It's a sort of mixture of the format for a screenplay. So it has stuff like int congas cell. Int means interior. And then it's got night. This is the traditional way that you describe a location. You start by saying whether it's interior or exterior, and you say whether it's day, night, dusk, or dawn. So it obeys that, but then this is more like a play. It has the character and then a quote and the thing that they say. So that's more like the sort of traditional layout of drama. If it was a screenplay, you'd have. Or the traditional screenplay layout is that you have the character name, and then on sort of a couple of lines down you have the dialogue, and there's no quote marks, and also everything's centered. So yeah, so it's a kind of a mixture. I mean, I think most people would get it, even if you haven't sort of studied screenwriting or anything. I think you probably get that congas cell is like a jail cell is going to be inside, and night, well, that's fairly straightforward. So I don't have a problem with that layout, even though it's quite unusual. It's fairly unusual. Most of these are written as in a sort of prose form, as if they're novels or short stories. I don't think that this layout, is a big problem or anything. The plot is that. And this isn't spoilers because it's laid out on the first page, which is that you are a a prisoner, and you are offered the chance to commit an assassination, and in return you get, as they say, your freedom and $10 million. The reason they chose you seems a bit odd, because it says, there's talk you were a hunter on the outside. I think if I was picking someone for an illegal assassination, I'd want a bit more than talk. I'd want to say, no, I've actually looked into this and I've definitely confirmed 100% that you have the skills we need, not just some criminals claim that you do, because, like, of course, I mean, that's true. That would be true of anywhere, but perhaps especially in a prison. There's probably more sort of bullshit spoken among sort of bored criminals, perhaps, than there is anyone else. But and also a hunter. Well, you know, do you really want a hunter to do an assassination? I mean, surely you'd want someone with slightly more specialised skills. I mean, I would want someone who'd at least been in the army, and perhaps been, you know, a sniper or something in the army at the very least. But anyway, there's talk you're a hunter on the outside, and in this world, that's enough for you to be chosen to do an illegal assassination in secret, which I think is honestly a bit of a flaw. But the system, there isn't really a system in this. Probably most games of this type, certainly mine has a lot of these, have some sort of statistics and sort of inventory and items that you get or don't get, or skills that you have or don't have. This one doesn't. It's a sort of pure, like the old Choose Your Own Adventures. It's text, and then there's a series of choices, and there doesn't seem to be any random roles or any reference to attributes that you might have, as far as I can tell. Let's deal with the pros. It's mostly pretty good. I find sometimes there are references that are made that are like a person roundabout now speaking to someone else roundabout now, which of course is the case. The author is someone from roundabout now, and the audience is someone from roundabout now. But that doesn't quite fit with the tone of the scene. So, for example, the mirror above the sink changes to something like a zoom screen. The mirror above the sink changes to something like a zoom screen with a blocked camera. This is, as we are told, the year 2073. So, are they going to be using Zoom in the year 2073? I would imagine almost certainly not, given the sort of lifetime of most software. There's probably going to be, Zoom is probably going to be sort of hilariously old-fashioned in 10 years. I remember Zoom, it's going to be like GeoCities or something, a sort of marker of a particular time. So that isn't something that someone at that time would say, probably. And secondly, in this particular case, I'm not completely sure what a zoom screen with a blocked camera is meant to look like. Does that just mean that it's like a video feed, but it's a video feed where someone's, like, it's all dark, and that looks different to a wall? Maybe it's a bit. I mean, I guess that's what it's trying to say. I guess it's trying to say it looks like a video screen. It looks like there's a video feed, but the video feed is all dark, but it's like all dark in the specific way that video feeds are. I would have liked a description that was a bit more specific, and I would have liked a description that wasn't anachronistic for the supposed time. Now, of course, you can't really write like 2073, because no one knows what that's going to be. And also, if you did it, it would be completely, it would be impenetrable to us, because it would probably make reference to some software. Oh, well, it's like a such and such thing that's entirely familiar to those people, but means absolutely nothing to us. So you can't really do that, but you can avoid sort of modernisms. You can avoid, you can avoid saying it's like a Zoom screen. And also, as I say, I would have liked it to have been a bit more something like a Zoom screen with a blocked camera. Okay, in what way was it like a Zoom screen? I mean, I have guessed what it means, but I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if that's what the author intends. And also, I'd like to not guess. I'd like to be certain. So anyway, look. I concentrate on things that I don't like. Okay, so I don't want to. This is going to be a series of criticisms, right? But I don't want to give the impression that I absolutely hated this and I think it's terrible and has no virtues, right? It is just easier to talk about things that were done wrong. There's not much to say when you say, "Oh, the prose was good," Okay, well, we'll move on. Whereas when there's something wrong, there's kind of a lot to say. So bear in mind that the fact that this is going to be a series of criticisms is not doesn't mean this is like a 1-star review, if that makes sense. So, having said that, another criticism. So we have a choice, and the choice is that you. So you're given the mission, and you get a choice to think about it, or to say I'll think about it, or I'm not interested. The problem that I have, and I haven't replayed the game enough to verify that this is the case, but it does seem as if the choice is not a choice, and you're going to end up. It seems as if the plot of this story is you trying to commit this assassination, which, by the way, involves time travel into the past. And so, if you say I'm not interested, you're going to end up doing it anyway because that's the plot. So let's say I say no, and we get a fair bit of text, which is quite good about life in the prison. A bunch of stuff about the main character, you. He's the main character, by the way, is always referred to. It's written in the third person. It doesn't say the speaker turns to you, or the speaker returns to Conga holding a human skull. Normally it'd say the speaker returns to you holding a human skull. One of the workers gives you gloves, etc. I don't have a big problem with that. I just thought I'd mention it. But it seems like within a few clicks you are actually doing the job. So I don't care for I don't care for choices that are not choices, right? I don't care for choices which sort of circle round and become the same plot again. When you've got attributes, you can do that. So, for example, let's say it's a fantasy game. You've got option A or option B, and option A will cause you to become wounded or something, and you'll lose 4 stamina. And the other option will not cause you to lose 4 stamina. Well, then you can join up with the main plot because that choice has made a difference, right? Later on, that 4 stamina might be the difference between your character living and your character dying. So when you've got sort of some way of keeping track or some sort of mark of the decisions being made, so you've got attributes that change or items that you gain or lose, or even just keywords that you gain or lose, you can do that. But when you've got, as with this one, and apparently it's just text and branching, if you branch round, if two choices send you in different directions but end up at the same place, then there really is ultimately no difference to the outcome from that point on. And so it's a false choice. All you get is just sort of different, a bit of different text before going on to the main bit. And that is one reason why games of this type that don't have a system, that are just text and branching, they tend each each run through of the game tends to be quite short, or does tend to have that vice of looping round to the next bit, because the number of paragraphs just grows. Even if you have only two paragraphs, two choices each time, well, that just means it doubles each time. From 2 choices, it becomes four possibilities from those choices, and then 8, and then 16, and 32, and pretty soon it becomes quite unmanageable. So you have to either end quite a lot of the branches, which means that the story is quite short, or you have things loop around, and that has the problem that then your choices don't sort of end up making any difference. This is quite a long story. In fact, I think the person the author who posted this on Reddit said that this is just the first quarter of what they've written, and they describe it as a novel, so that implies that it's going to be something like a novel length, which 40,000 words is usually considered the minimum for a novel. So it's going to be quite long, and because it doesn't have a system, I think there's going to be, just mathematically, there's going to have to be a lot of cases where you have a choice, but the choice doesn't end up making any difference. So I would sort of suggest to the author, to Nolan Thornton, or to anyone else who might be making a game of this type, that perhaps adding some kind of system, whether that be attributes, whether that be collecting items, whether that be just keywords that you get for making particular decisions in the past, will allow you to have a longer narrative without choices that make no difference. The other thing that I wanted to say is that sometimes I'm looking for a bit that's a little bit later in the run here. The genre of a sort of, I mean, it's science fiction, but it's also kind of a thriller, because it's about someone trying to commit an assassination. The genre of thriller often has kind of very terse dialogue in which things are not spelt out explicitly, and the audience is intended to sort of read meaning in. And the author seems to have taken this this convention on, but it doesn't always hit. So, for example, I mean, this is sort of an example, but the main character, you, say, is there anyone who calls you sensei? To this person who seems to be a sort of perhaps a cult leader, or perhaps a religious leader, or it's not exactly clear at this point what they are, but something of that nature. Is there anyone who calls you sensei? What? Troy's face is completely changed. Okay, what does it change to? I think we're meant to understand what expression would be on his face, but I didn't get it. Conga, is there anyone who calls you sensei? The security guards push in. Troy, no, they don't. And then you have the option of saying skeletons in your closet or in it for the power. I have no idea what's going on here. I know that sensei is a term that is mentioned earlier in the story. So that he hasn't just come out with that from nowhere, but I'm not sure what expression Troy's face is meant to have. I'm not sure what Conga, i.e. me, the character, the main character, I'm not sure what he intended to gain by asking this, and then I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to gain by saying skeletons in your closet or in it for the power. And I think that's a genre thing. I think that's a thriller thing. You also saw it a lot in Game of Thrones, where characters would say, well, yes, and they're having this discussion that isn't nothing is spelt out, and you're meant to infer what's happening. I mean, in Game of Thrones, normally from memory, one could work out what was being talked about. But yeah, I'm not sure what, if you have sort of unspoken meaning, you have to be really sure that everyone understands the unspoken meaning, and I didn't, basically, in this particular case. And that was a problem that I had with this dialogue. There's no skeletons in your closet. You're totally innocent. Well, I mean, why would someone who had skeletons in their closet say, you know what, you're right, I killed someone when I was a kid, you got me? Like, of course, what do I, the main character, think is going to happen by saying that? Surely it's only going to get a denial, and that's going to happen whether the person is innocent or guilty. Anyway, and then Troy says, "I know who you're looking for." Conger is surprised, assuming it was Troy himself. So, what did I hope to gain from this conversation? Why didn't I just shoot this guy? My job is to kill him. Why am I having a conversation with him? Why am I showing him myself at all? And it wasn't particularly clear. Having said that, there are good things about it. It's a cool combination of ideas. I think those two, again, without going into sort of what might be considered spoilers by the author, I think those two short stories are a good sort of basis. I think they combine well, and I think they're a good basis for a story of this type. I would like maybe to. I would like things to be spelt out more. I would like I get that he's going for a genre. He's going for the atmosphere of a particular genre, but I don't know that works very well in a situation like this where you, the reader, is meant to be one of these characters. Watching two characters make veiled illusions, well, that might be fine, but we're meant to be one of those characters, and so therefore we should know everything that the character knows. That one character knows. We might not know what the other character knows, but we should know what the character knows, and we should know why they say the things they say, and we should know what they hope to get out of a particular interaction. You can't have, or at least it's very difficult to have, sort of mystery and veiled illusion and stuff in a situation where one of the participants is intended to be you, in a sense. You're meant to be in their head. So that's what I would sort of say to the author if they wanted sort of one one thing to work on. Maybe dial back the mystery. I think, but as I say, I think the ideas are cool. I think the plot is a cool idea. I think it is both a cool idea and a suitable idea for a game of this type, because it is about, you can easily make it the adventures of a single person. I would think about having some sort of game system, because it looks like he wants to have a long narrative, and if the choices aren't going to be non-choices, you need to have some way of marking the consequences of particular choices, and so you need either attributes or items or keywords or something like that. And I would say to dial back the mystery, but I think it is sufficiently interesting that I want to look at the next 3/4 of it, and I'll certainly check out the next 3/4 of it when they come out. So I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.